Hello again. Thank you for visiting Veterans Corner. I'm Greg Gagne, the host, and today we are sharing information. And my guest today is Miss Maria. I keep forgetting how to pronounce your name.
Ibarra is the
Ibarra,
easiest way.
okay?
Yes, sir.
And she's the HUD counselor and here for Mid-City Development. And she's here to share information about scams.
Yes, so that is
Whole lot of scams.
growing topic. Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yes, it is. So tell me, start off right off the bat. What is
Okay.
the biggest scam you run into?
Well, I would have to say, as a foreclosure prevention counselor, what we are seeing here is a growing, and from my conversations with other HUD counselors and other agencies, we're seeing a growing, overwhelming number of mortgage scams going on. So as for foreclosure prevention, what we do is we mediate between the lender and between the borrower, the homeowner.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, we've had clients come to us and apply with us for foreclosure prevention that have been scammed.
Yes.
And how mortgage scams we're finding that they're going is basically it's like an outside source outside of the mortgage company getting the information when people are falling delinquent, getting the information when people are falling into foreclosure status. They're contacting these people posing as a quick solution or an easy remedy
Yes,
to get
yes.
them out of delinquency.
Yes.
And that's not so.
No, it's not so. I've been on that road already.
Right. The lender owns the loan.
Right.
Sometimes you may have a servicer. A lot of clients don't understand the difference between the lender and the servicer. And so they'll get confused on where to make the payments. The lender is the company that actually loans the money.
Okay.
They're the big bucks behind everything.
Okay.
They're the underwriting and all that good stuff. The servicer actually is pretty much kind of the customer service portion of them. It's thought of as like an outsourcing customer service third party.
Okay.
It's still to where they collect payments. So a person, if they have a servicer, they would be providing the payments to that servicer. The servicer looks over and oversees the loan, answers any customer service questions, handles loss mitigation, any type of situation with that, the servicer would provide. And so basically, yes, people are responsible for making payments to whoever they're supposed to make payments to, whether it's the lender or the servicer. So working with someone other than them, it's impossible.
Well, I do know I get a lot of contacts on my phone and all kinds of little solutions.
Right,
And anybody contacting the phone, I don't even answer it
right, right.
or even leave messages. But I'm sorry to say that there are a lot of elderly in their homes. They're not, I guess you'll say, computer literate, they deal with the internet a lot of times.
Yeah.
And we have a tendency to believe in the goodness of people. But there are a lot of people out there that want to take advantage.
Sure.
My uncle told me years ago, he said, look, for every person that's out there making money, there's two people out there trying to find a way to get it from you.
That's right. That's right. That's
You
very
know?
true.
So what other kind of scams might be going on that you might be able to tell us about?
As far as mortgage scams go, they will ask for upfront payments.
Yes.
A mortgage company will never ask for any type of upfront fees. They're only going to ask what's due on the loan.
Okay.
If they can modify the loan to make the payments more affordable or to try to repay the loan depending on the delinquency amount, everything is put into writing. All agreements between the homeowner and the lender are always put into writing by the mortgage lender. And we always advise the clients to read all agreements and understand what they're agreeing to.
Well, I don't want to go any further than that, but right there, a lot of times people do not understand the jargon.
Right, right.
This is, I guess, lawfare.
Right, right.
If you don't understand the jargon, I'm not saying don't trust you in your organization, but I would say get an attorney or somebody to interpret what the hell you're getting involved
Well, a
in.
HUD counselor can help interpret
Okay.
that type of information. Absolutely. They don't absolutely need an attorney. They can seek one, of course, always.
I'm just giving them
But a
another
HUD
option.
counselor, a HUD counselor can give some options and advice on any type of agreement that the lender may send to the homeowner, of course.
Because in dealing with the lenders, I know, or from my own personal experience, if you are in a situation and they're sitting down explaining it to you, I would think you need to have someone there as well with you to understand what you're getting, what you're putting your name to.
Yes,
Just don't go there
yes.
by yourself and sit down with a mortgagor. I've been through it enough times. But the thing is, though, they sit down there, they tell you blah, 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 blah. And there's nowhere in the world I'm going to read all this or even understand it. So I would say you need to take someone there who understands a little bit of the jargon so you can explain it to you.
Well, loan modifications, the language used in them is not that complex like it is for like a mortgage note or mortgage deed whenever
Okay.
you sign that when you're closing. It's pretty cut and dry. It tells the payment arrangement. If there's any trial payments, it tells it. It gives dates. It gives amounts. So it's really black and white. It's really anyone can, the average homeowner can understand the language.
Okay.
Sometimes people aren't sure of the language
Right.
or what they're agreeing to, and they bring it to us just to make sure that they're understanding what they're reading. But I've never read any arrangement or agreement that was complex, too complex for the average understanding. And basically, whatever amounts that they put in writing, they do discuss over the phone. They're not going to put it in writing if the homeowner on the phone says, "Look, I can't afford that modified payment."
Right.
They're not going to send arrangements out and legal documents on something if that is not doable by the homeowner. Sometimes payment modification isn't affordable for the homeowner because they're so far behind.
Yeah. Well, from personal experience, I do know that when people do fall behind, they're more or less, it's like it affects their pride. They say, I can't do something.
Correct.
So you try a little bit harder, but the payment goes by.
Right.
Next thing you know, another payment goes by. You're still trying. You're trying to, can I pay you a little bit of this, a little bit of that?
Right.
As time go on, if you'd have got there in the beginning and go to the mortgager and say, look, this is the situation I'm in. What can you do to help me stay
That's correct. That's
stay
correct.
in good graces with you?
You're right. Right. And the wonderful thing is, and I do have to say, when I was a HUD counselor is during the Obama administration, when they really revved up on foreclosure prevention. That's one thing I saw was during that administration, it was really more focused on HUD educators going out there because of what happened in the mortgage crisis in the early 2000s.
Right.
There was a foreclosure crisis. And I was a loan officer back then, so I do understand. It was a two-part situation back then. It wasn't just the lenders. Yes, some of it was, I would have to say 50% the lenders were responsible for not educating the consumer enough and making sure everything was as transparent as possible. And I have to say the other 50% was the consumer educating themselves on the products and what financial decisions they were getting into.
Yeah, because I do know the word I'm looking for is transparency.
Right.
Okay, because you need to understand, and the marketer need to understand, you're going into a contract and both parties need to understand what it says in the contract.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, and the more open that the mortgage company can share information
Right.
with the client to where they can truly understand what they're getting involved in is much better. And if I also feel that if you develop that relationship, that if you were to get in trouble, they would sit down and work with you as much as possible within their parameters.
Right. Right. Within
Okay?
reason.
Within reason.
Right.
But it also lets them know that you're not someone who's just trying to avoid
Correct.
and get in over on the loan.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Because no matter what happens, you still owe the money.
Right, right. And some people, a lot of times when they get into delinquency with their mortgage, it's a change of life circumstance. A lot of times
is.
emergencies happen in life and life happens. It happens to the best of us. No matter what income bracket we're in, no matter what educational background we have, no matter, what our background is, we all run into those hardships in life. It's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you communicate with your lender, they're there nowadays. They're there to help you work out a solution as much as possible within reason, of course.
Well, as long as you come to that agreement and understanding, then
Right.
the chances of you remaining in your home
Right.
increases.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I find people do not want to talk with the mortgage company when they are in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And being involved with you, okay, or partnering with you with Veterans Corner, getting involved with you, we're starting a program, a home program, and I'm sure with the various problems that are out there, we can try to eliminate some of the barriers and walls that put up for veterans.
Sure.
And of course, one of them is the down payment and so forth. And hopefully, I will hopefully recommend some people towards you to where you can help them and get grants or whatever. You have much more resources than I have. But whatever we can do to help the veteran, I'm right here for them, okay? Because I hate to see a veteran go through what I went through, okay? And it wasn't easy to live on cash when you wasn't making any money.
Right.
And raising a family of
Right.
four children involved. It's
Right,
not easy. Now, I survived it, and it's only because of God's involvement that I'm even still standing here, okay?
Sure.
And I'm not afraid to say that, okay? But your circumstances can change, but you have to let your situation be known to the people that you're associated with like in a mortgage company.
Right.
Let them know what's going on.
Right.
Because without that information, they're looking at you as just being,
Right.
you don't want to make your monthly payments.
Right. And you definitely want to make sure that you're dealing with your lender, because that is the only reliable source to deal with when you fall behind on a mortgage. They're never going to overpromise on a modification. They're never going to promise you any modification before you've made a proper application and submitted proper documentation. That's another scam that people need to look out for. A lot of times they will, like I said, they'll ask for upfront payments
Yes.
before the modification can even be arranged. That's a definite sign of scams. And what a person can do if they think that they have been scammed, they can always turn to HUD counseling agencies such as myself. They can always turn to the state attorney general's office. And they can also contact the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, if they thought that they have been scammed by a mortgage, someone appearing to be a legitimate mortgage company or mortgage solution.
Well, like I said before, I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm in a senior group, senior years, and a lot of times we get taken advantage of.
Right.
And because we're in a situation where we do trust people, but the mortgage company and the loans and everything that's involved in your situation, especially with fixed incomes for seniors and everything, they're really open to scams.
Right.
And I'm sorry to say that, but that's just the way life is
Sure.
here.
Sure.
It's just like with the VA, okay? The VA will help a veteran get a home, okay? Well, actually, the VA recommends to a mortgage company to deal with you as a veteran, but it's up to the mortgage company whether or not they want to do business with you
Sure.
and to get a home.
Right.
So to me, that's like you're not telling the whole story here.
Right.
Okay, as far as from the veteran
yes,
side,
right.
Because just simply being a veteran doesn't guarantee you a home,
Correct.
home loan.
Correct.
Everything depends upon that mortgage company,
That's correct.
and I found that out as well because of my years dealing with the VA and everything else. But I do know that I wish you were in my pocket when I was in my younger years.
I wish HUD counselors were available back then too.
Yeah.
Especially, I wish HUD counselors were available when I did mortgage lending. I would have been able to help a lot more people, clients that I couldn't help with a lending situation at that time. Had I known that HUD counselors were there to help, remedy whatever solution my client needed in order to become homeowners,
Yeah.
I definitely would have sent them to an organization like Mid-City Redevelopment.
Well, tell me how much. I'm gonna say this. How much? How many cases can you deal with?
It just depends. Our
The reason
foreclosure.
I'm saying that if I'm gonna promote this interview and the information that we are sharing, and what I normally do promote through television, radio, and everything else, I know people contact me, and I would easily refer them to you.
Okay.
But you're also getting swamped in from all over the state
Yes,
as well.
yes, and a lot of calls and a lot of applications come from the foreclosure prevention side. A lot of people are misunderstanding what mortgage assistance, the term mortgage assistance means. It can be misunderstanding. On the back of their mortgage statement, it says if you're falling behind, reach out to a HUD office for mortgage assistance. In Louisiana at this time, unfortunately, we don't have any monetary mortgage assistance. So there's no monies in the state being given to help owners get caught up at this time. We did have one for COVID that ran out. Right now, we have nothing to help get caught up. The only services that we're providing at this time is just the loss mitigation part. So the first question I like to ask my clients is, have you spoken to your lender?
Right, right.
That's the first step.
Yes.
Because it's going to take a long, it's actually a longer process for me to mediate. I have to get signed disclosures, authorizations, third parties authorizations. I have to send them over. I have to get it approved. In the meantime, they probably have already spoken to their lender and started on whatever proper process they needed to do, which I find pretty much 90% have started the process of loan modification application with the lender. So by me simply asking these questions to a lot of the foreclosure clients, have you spoken with your lender? Are they willing to work with you? The majority of them already working with the lender and doing the best that they possibly can to remedy their delinquency situation.
Yes. Well, I can identify with that. But a lot of times life's circumstances dictate what happens.
Right.
Okay. Because like in my case, I went bankrupt because other people went bankrupt who owed me money. And it took a long time to get back up on my feet. And it wasn't something that happened overnight.
Right.
And even with dealing with the mortgage company. But back then, this was back in the 70s and the 80s, where the mortgage company was really cold-hearted. They wanted their money. Well, nowadays they're starting to understand that without your client, you don't have anything.
Right, right. Well, federal regulations once again tightened up with that mortgage, the mortgage crisis. So a lot of federal regulations, and on the state level too, it got a lot more strict, especially after COVID. With what happened with the foreclosure crisis with COVID, and just financial crisis in general, with COVID, it really, really tightened up and strengthened the homeowners' position with the mortgage company. It really strengthened that to where they have to be given these options. They have to be given solutions if they're willing to work on that, on their own behalf, of course.
Yeah. Well, the atmosphere back then and the atmosphere today is totally different.
Totally different.
And people need to be aware of that. But I hate to say this, but my veterans of my generation, sometimes we can care less about the VA and the government because the way we were treated so badly.
Correct.
Okay, for years. Okay, and to believe you could help me is, you didn't help me before, so why should you help me now?
Yeah.
So, whatever I can do to help my veterans, if I can, point them in your direction, hopefully that they will get some type of what we would say, fairness sort of proposition, whatever that you can work out with them, that it will be in their best interest. All I can tell my veteran friends is that knowing what I went through, there's always another day. And right now, as my senior years, is a totally 180-degree difference. But it takes time, it takes work.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that. It takes work to make things happen. And when like the saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
It does.
Well, only those that stands up, once they're knocked down, get back up, there's a good chance that they will survive and move on to the next day, next morning, whatever you want to look at it. And I'm just hoping that veterans will understand, even with my personal circumstances, today is like night and day, but it took time, it took working with people such as yourself and your mortgage company. And sometimes things don't work out the way it is, but understand something else too. Just because it didn't work out this time doesn't mean it might be another step better.
That's correct.
That's
correct. And sometimes that hard advice has to come from me to the homeowner, to where all solutions is just a no-go.
Yeah.
And the best thing sometimes is just to let the house go for
Yeah.
sale or
Yeah.
short sale.
Yeah.
And I let them know it's not the end of the world. If they
No,
have to do that,
that's it.
if they have to file for a bankruptcy, it's not the end of the world. Home ownership can be for them in the future, of course, with proper preparation and education.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sorry to say this interview is going to end as well.
Yes.
Hate to say it. Well, I want to thank Miss Maria for coming on board today and share this information with us. And sometime in the future, I'm hoping she will come on with something else. And we'll just go from there. But Miss
Sure.
Maria,
Thank you so
thank
much
you
for
very
having
much.
me. Thank you.
And thank you. Okay. Well, you guys take care. Be safe. God bless America.